On May the 1st, 5,000 troops were ordered out of Germany. On May the 13th, 4,000 more had their deployment to Poland scrapped. Equipment already in transit, soldiers already on the ground. On May 21st, Trump announced 5,000 troops would go to Poland. 3 announcements, 3 reversals, 0 coherence. Nobody in NATO knows what the US military posture in Europe actually is right now, and nobody in the Pentagon seems to know either. The first move came on May the 1st. Defence Secretary Pete Hegseth ordered the withdrawal of approximately 5,000 troops from Germany, reducing the US presence from roughly 35,000 to 30,000 over the next 6 to 12 months. The unit at the centre of speculation is the 2nd Cavalry Regiment, a striker brigade based in Vilseck, Bavaria. It's the Army's only permanently stationed striker brigade in Europe. It has operated in Germany since the Cold War, originally as a bulwark against the Soviet Union. For the town of Vilseck, the regiment isn't just a military asset, it's an economic one. Thousands of American families live in the community. Local businesses depend on the base. The mayor, Thorsten Gradler, told reporters he had no more information than what was in the Pentagon's original statement. But this wasn't a routine force alignment. The timing pointed to something more specific. This isn't happening in isolation. 2 weeks before the withdrawal announcement, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz publicly criticised US strategy in the Iran war, stating that Iranians were, in his words, humiliating the United States in negotiations.
An entire nation is being humiliated by the Iranian leadership, especially by the so-called Revolutionary Guards.
The comment enraged Trump. According to multiple reports, the Germany pullout was in part a direct response, a signal that support for US military operations comes with expectations, and that allies who criticise the administration's war strategy risk consequences. Reuters reported an internal Pentagon email outlining options to punish NATO allies who failed to support US operations against Iran, including suspending Spain from NATO and reviewing the US position on Britain's claim to the Falkland Islands. The Germany withdrawal fits that pattern. It's not just force reshaping, it's leverage. The official justification was that the move brings US troop levels in Europe back to pre-2022 levels, before Russia's invasion of Ukraine triggered a build-up under the Biden administration. But reducing forces to pre-war levels while that war is still ongoing sends its own signal, one that Moscow is certain to have noted. Then came the second move. On May the 13th, the Army abruptly cancelled the deployment of the 2nd Armoured Brigade Combat Team, the Blackjack Brigade of the 1st Cavalry Division at Fort Hood, Texas. More than 4,000 soldiers, a 9-month rotation to Poland. This wasn't a plan under review. The brigade had already cased its colours on May the 1st, a formal ceremony signalling readiness to deploy. Advanced personnel were already in Poland. Equipment was in transit. Soldiers had already told their families they were leaving. Then the order came down with no public explanation, no formal notification of Congress, and no advance warning to Warsaw. Senator Jean Shaheen, who sits on the Senate Armed Services Committee, told reporters that the decision was a surprise. The Army referred all questions to the Defence Department. The Defence Department said nothing. Poland, the country that has met every NATO spending target, that hosts more than 10,000 US troops on rotation, and that considers itself the most pro-American ally in Europe, was blindsided. The stated rationale for the Poland cancellation was logistics. One US official suggested the troops originally destined for Poland might instead be relocated to support the Germany drawdown. Vice President J.D. Vance, speaking to reporters on May 19th, insisted the move was a standard delay, not a reduction.
What we did is that we delayed a troop deployment that was going to go to Poland. That's not a reduction, that's just a standard delay in rotation that sometimes happens in these situations.
But the numbers contradicted Vance's framing. The brigade combat team, whose deployment was halted, contained 4,700 soldiers. A separate unit, the 3rd Battalion of the 12th Field Artillery Regiment, which specialises in long-range rockets and missiles and made up of over 500 soldiers, also had its Germany deployment cancelled. And the command in Europe overseeing those capabilities was ordered off the continent. The total cut came closer to 5,000 than 4,000. The decision also cancelled a deployment already in motion, with equipment at sea and soldiers in country. That requires a political decision, not a logistical one. The Army is facing a budget shortfall of between $4 and $6 billion, driven by extended operations, including National Guard deployments to Washington, D.C., and units assigned to the US-Mexico border. Senator Jack Reed, the ranking member of the Senate Armed Services Committee, raised a shortfall during a budget hearing. Neither the Army Secretary nor the Army Vice Chief of Staff addressed it. But budget pressures alone don't explain cancelling a deployment already underway. The political driver appears to be the same one that was behind the Germany pullout. Trump's frustration that European allies have not joined the US war against Iran. Poland, one of the few NATO members that has consistently met the alliance's 2% defence spending target, a model ally by Washington's own stated standards, was cut without warning. Then came the third move. On May 21st, Trump posted on Truth Social, "Based on the successful election of the now President of Poland, Karol Nawrocki, who I was proud to endorse, and our relationship with him, I am pleased to announce that the United States will be sending an additional 5,000 troops to Poland." An apparent reversal, 8 days after Hegseth cancelled the deployment, 2 days after Vance insisted it was merely a standard delay. And the announcement landed with no detail, no timeline, no unit identification, no explanation of where those 5,000 troops would come from. The confusion it created was immediate. A US official told Bloomberg, "We had no idea this was coming," describing the frantic scenes inside the Pentagon as officials tried to interpret what the president meant. The Pentagon referred all questions to the White House. The White House did not respond to requests for comment. It is unclear whether the 5,000 troops Trump referred to are the same brigade whose deployment Hegseth cancelled and have simply been uncancelled, or whether they represent a different force altogether. It is unclear whether they will come from Germany, from Fort Hood, or from an existing unit in Poland that was scheduled to rotate out and will now simply be extended. A Polish official told ABC News that the government credits a diplomatic offensive in Washington with reversing the decision, but acknowledged it still doesn't know which troops are coming or when. Poland's Foreign Minister, Radoslaw Sikorski, thanked Trump for his announcement that the presence of American troops in Poland will be maintained more or less at previous levels.
The presence of American troops in Poland will be maintained more or less at previous levels. I want to thank the President and everybody who contributed to this decision.
Poland's defence minister stated plainly, Poland is certainly not losing what it had, around 10,000 soldiers, but more or less at previous levels is not the same as an additional 5,000. The gap between Trump's language and Poland's interpretation tells its own story. Now here's why this confusion matters more than any single deployment number. The United States has, in 3 weeks, sent 3 contradictory signals to Europe. Withdraw from Germany, cancel for Poland, reverse for Poland. Each announcement was delivered without coordination, without consulting allies affected, without notifying Congress, and without aligning the Pentagon's operational planning with the President's public statements. The result is that nobody, not NATO, not Warsaw, not Berlin, and apparently not the Defense Department itself, knows what US force posture in Europe will look like in 6 months. Trump tied the Poland reversal directly to his personal relationship with President Nawrocki, who he endorsed in last year's election and hosted at the White House. The message is unmistakable. US troop deployments are now contingent on personal loyalty to Trump, not on strategic necessity or alliance commitments. Allies who support the president get troops. Allies who criticize his war strategy lose them. And allies who simply aren't personally close to him exist in a state of permanent uncertainty. This is the real strategic damage. It's not the 5,000 troops out of Germany or the 4,000 cancelled for Poland, or even the reversal. It's the demonstration that the US military posture in Europe is now subject to personal presidential whim. Announced on social media, reversed on social media, with no institutional process underneath. Every NATO ally is now calculating the same question. What happens to our US forces if we say something the president doesn't like? Russia has watched these moves with careful attention. The entire premise of NATO's deterrent posture in Europe is that the United States maintains a credible forward presence, forces on the ground, visible and ready. The 2nd Cavalry Regiment in Germany, rotational brigades in Poland. They aren't just military units, they're signals, and those signals are being scrambled. A senior NATO military official attempted to downplay the impact, telling reporters that rotational forces do not factor into NATO's deterrence or defence plans. That statement is technically accurate. NATO's formal plans rely on assigned, not rotational forces. But it ignores the political reality. Russia doesn't distinguish between permanent or rotational deployments when calculating risk. What it sees is American forces being withdrawn, cancelled and reversed in a 3-week span with no coherent strategy behind any of it. What it calculates is that the US commitment to Europe's eastern flank is not just eroding, it's unstable. And instability is more dangerous than a planned, predictable drawdown. Information has become as significant as conventional firepower. And right now the information is that the United States cannot make a decision about its European deployments and stick to it. In 21 days, the United States withdrew 5,000 troops from Germany, cancelled a deployment of 4,000 more to Poland, and then announced 5,000 troops would go to Poland after all. The first was tied to a political dispute over the Iran war. The second was delivered with no explanation. The third was announced on social media with no operational detail and appeared to surprise the Pentagon itself. Germany's new Chancellor, Friedrich Merz, is pushing ahead with plans to build a 260,000 strong military. France and Germany have a combined 5,000 troops on NATO's eastern flank, a number set to increase. Poland is already spending over 4% of GDP on defence. But these are long-term projects. The confusion is happening now. The NDAA, signed into law by Trump himself in December, bars US troop levels in Europe from falling below 76,000. The administration has some leeway, but the legal constraint exists. How it navigates that ceiling as further changes are considered will reveal whether this is a temporary adjustment or a permanent retrenchment. But the deeper problem isn't the numbers, it's the process. 3 announcements, 3 reversals, 0 consultation, and an alliance structure that was built on the assumption of American reliability, now watching that reliability being tested in real time. If you enjoyed this video, hit like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.